1998, I was appointed district judge by Governor Tom Ridge. I've been elected 3 times since then. As a district judge, I'm in the courtroom on a daily basis, presiding over both civil and criminal cases. I'm the president of the Special Court Judges Association of Washington County. I believe that my experience as both a prosecutor and a district judge makes me uniquely qualified to serve on the Washington County Court of Common Pleas. Chuck?
I'd like to also thank the League and the Bar Association, and Lane, I also have a wife that is the best wife I can give a person. I've been a practicing trial lawyer for over 3 decades. I've handled every kind of case that generally a judge will be required to handle. I've done more than just preliminary hearings and civil cases up to 12,000 like the district justice does. I've done more than just criminal cases alone like the district attorney handles. I've handled criminal jury trials, cases over hundreds of thousands of dollars, custody, divorce, support, pro bono work. I've never been on the public payroll. I have been a victim in an assault in the courthouse and have had a building destroyed by an arsonist. I feel for victims because I've been there and found how cold and disinterested the court system can be. I know how a victim feels. I bring that knowledge and experience, compassion and understanding to the office of judge. Once elected, criminals will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and victims' rights will be a priority, protected and recognized under the Victims' Bill of Rights, a law that some judges ignore. Thank you.
Tom.
Good evening. My name is Tom Fallert, and I am a candidate also for judge in Washington County. And I'd like to thank you all for coming this evening. I am 55 years old and was born in Carnegie, Pennsylvania. I went to Washington and Jefferson College and graduated with 9 honors in 1979. And while I was in college, I worked for an attorney and got to see our judges in action back at that time. And it inspired me to become an attorney, which I did going to the University of Pittsburgh School of Law and graduating in 1982. I have been a trial lawyer my entire career, which is now in its 31st year. I have practiced in 19 western Pennsylvania counties, not just in Washington County. I'm not a household name in Washington. I have been before hundreds of judges in western Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, federal court. And I believe that I am qualified to help this county overcome its backlog of cases and move into the future when many more legal issues are going to tax the county.
The first question will go first to Blaine, and rather than having every candidate answer every question, we'll have 4 of them answer the first question, and then we'll have a new question for the second 4, and so they'll rotate within those groups of 4. I know might be confusing to watch, but we're trying to make it fair. Okay. So the first question: how is being a judge different from being a lawyer, and why are you or were you interested in leaving the practice of law?
Well, first of all, as a lawyer, you must be an advocate for your client and do what you can within the law to advance the interest of your client. As a judge, you've got to be more of an umpire, a mediator, and I believe I have that experience, having previously served as a support hearing officer here in Washington County. I adjudicated over 2,000 child support and alimony cases for the court. I also serve as a mediator for the court on complex legal issues, civil cases, and I'm also chairman of the Washington County Board of View. So the court has placed some trust in me, appointing me to these positions, and I think I have the experience to mediate and settle disputes, which obviously you need to be a judge.
Same question to Pete. If you ever want me to repeat a question.
I wrote it down.
Oh,
good. How is being a judge different than being a lawyer? It's a good question. When you are a lawyer, you are, especially in my role as a criminal defense attorney and a family law attorney, you have to look at the law and apply it to the facts of your case. You need to advocate on behalf of your client with respect towards the law. There's a transition from being a lawyer to being a judge, but your roles are very similar. When you're a judge, you're doing the same thing. You're taking the law. That is what you take an oath of office to do. Uphold the law and apply it. You review the law and you apply it to the facts of the case. But when you're doing it, you have to be impartial, fair, and apply it in the best way that fits the case. Like Blaine said, sometimes cases they're going to settle, but a lot of times they don't. So when you're a judge, you have to be on your toes, on your feet, cognizant of the law, and prepared to apply it the way that is necessary, whether it's popular or unpopular. Being a criminal defense attorney is not always popular. People ask me, how can you do it? How can you represent somebody that is charged with such a heinous crime? But at the same time, that person deserves the application of the law to be applied fairly and impartially. Not only are you representing the client, but you're representing the Constitution of Pennsylvania, the law, whether it's the Crimes Code, the Custody Act, the Support Act. That is what the judge is required to do. Thank you.
Lane.
Everybody keeps talking about the rules. Certainly the difference between a judge and a lawyer is the advocacy portion of it. As a judge, you can no longer be an advocate other than an advocate for the law, to enforce the law as it is written, not legislate from the bench, I think is one of the most important roles of a judge. But 2 years ago in this exact forum, I quoted Chief Justice John Roberts in his confirmation hearing. He described the role of a judge as that like being an umpire, making sure everyone follows the rules, particularly the lawyers. As a lawyer, you're always trying to jockey to get the best position for your client. As a judge, you cannot do that. You cannot allow yourself to become personally involved in the case. You have to be unbiased and impartial. But most of all, you have to make sure that there is a level playing field for both sides, so that all opinions are heard, and that everyone who comes into the courtroom, that they understand that you at least took the time and the opportunity to think about the facts and apply the law, so that when someone goes out of the courtroom, they don't come out with the feeling thinking that the judge liked that particular lawyer or that particular party more than another, that the judge took the time to really apply the law and get involved in the case to make the right decision.
I think the role of a lawyer, first and foremost, is to be an advocate for your client, and sometimes it can be very, very difficult in criminal cases in particular. But I always try to make the best of it for that particular client, put their best foot forward, present their side the best that they can, and certainly in the domestic cases to be aggressive as I can in a family law situation. As a judge, I see myself being removed from the parties, acting as a mediator, hoping that the cases can get settled, disposed of very quickly, not taking my personal opinions or my thoughts into play ultimately on these decisions that will have to be made. So it is very different from being an advocate versus being a mediator / ultimately you may be the decision maker. And I feel that I have the qualities that make me suited to transition from an advocate to the professional role of being a judge.
All right, new question, starting with Valerie. To what extent should a judge consider political, economic, and social consequences of decisions?
Okay, well, in general, I think it's a judge's duty to apply the law as the law is and not what the judge thinks it should be. Anytime a judge is faced with a case, it's very important to look at the facts of the case first of all, and if there's any statutes or anything relevant, to look at the plain language of the statute to see how that applies. If you don't get your answers there, then I would look at any precedent, any case law to help you make your decisions. And of course, if that doesn't happen, then you have to interpret the law. I don't believe that certainly political ramifications should have no bearing on anything in the courtroom. I think that was one aspect of your question. Politics has no place in the courtroom whatsoever.